Some smiles don't warm a room. They measure it, dissect it, assign value to every detail like an appraiser tallying imperfections. She recognized that kind immediately because she'd been studying it for 2 years now. The microscopic narrowing of eyes, the brief but deliberate pause before speaking, the way certain words got emphasized just enough to carry a second meaning underneath. Her mother-in-law had perfected this particular smile. It was the one that appeared when she walked into a room wearing something her mother-in-law considered unflattering. The one that surfaced when she mentioned her job, her hobbies, her opinions on anything beyond what was safe and decorative. It was a smile that pretended to include while actually excluding, that claimed warmth while radiating assessment. Tonight, that smile had appeared the moment she'd answered the door. Dinner was almost over now. The chicken had been praised, though with that faint note of surprise that suggested praise hadn't been expected. The wine glasses stood half full on the table, catching the light from the chandelier her husband had installed last month. Polite conversation had been floating through the air for nearly 2 hours, carefully navigating around anything that might create actual connection or conflict. She had been doing well, she thought, answering questions without oversharing, laughing at appropriate moments, playing the role of gracious hostess in the home she and her husband had built together. She'd learned the choreography of these dinners, when to speak, when to listen, when to refill glasses, when to clear plates. She'd learned which topics were safe, the weather, local news, her husband's achievements, and which were minefields, her own career, their decision to wait before having children, anything involving her family or background. She was reaching for the wine bottle, thinking they might actually make it through the evening without incident, when her mother-in-law set down her own glass with deliberate precision and delivered the line that had probably been waiting in her mouth all night. "Now I understand why he stays late at work so often." The words came out smooth, almost conversational, surrounded by all those beautiful women in his office. The implication didn't need explanation. It hung in the air like smoke, visible to everyone at the table. You are not enough. You are not beautiful enough, desirable enough, interesting enough to keep him home. Of course, he'd rather be elsewhere. Her husband's father cleared his throat uncomfortably and suddenly became very interested in the pattern on his dinner plate. Her husband had stepped away moments earlier to take a work call in his office, convenient timing that she suspected wasn't entirely coincidental. His mother had been waiting for this moment, this brief window of his absence. For 2 years, she'd swallowed comments like this, smiled through the observations about her weight, her wardrobe choices, her education from a state school instead of somewhere prestigious. She'd watched her mother-in-law's eyes travel over her body during every visit, cataloging perceived flaws. She'd heard the suggestions about gym memberships, about certain diets, about the kinds of clothes that might be more flattering for your frame. She'd endured the stories about other women, her husband's ex-girlfriend from college, the daughter of a family friend, anyone who represented what she apparently was not. She'd stayed quiet because her husband had asked her to be patient, because she loved him, because she kept hoping that time and familiarity would soften his mother's edges, because she'd been raised to respect elders, to keep peace, to not make waves. But something shifted in that moment. Maybe it was the wine. Maybe it was exhaustion from 2 years of measured cruelty dressed as concern. Maybe it was the way her father-in-law wouldn't even look at her, complicit in his silence. Or maybe it was simply that she'd finally reached the limit of dignity she was willing to sacrifice for the sake of avoiding conflict. She didn't flinch, didn't look away, didn't let her hands tremble even though fury was burning through her chest. Instead, she gently set down the wine bottle she'd been holding and placed her napkin beside her plate with deliberate care. Then she met her mother-in-law's eyes directly, not with anger, but with the kind of calm that comes from finally deciding you're done pretending. "That's interesting," she said, her voice steady and clear, "because he comes home early every night, early enough that we cook dinner together most evenings, early enough that we walk the dog before sunset. And on the rare occasions he does stay late, it's because he's building the future we planned together, the house we're renovating, the investment portfolio we're growing, the life we're creating. She paused, letting that sink in before continuing. Maybe you're confusing your own insecurity with my reality. Or maybe you've spent so much time looking for problems in our marriage that you've convinced yourself they exist. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Her mother-in-law's smile had frozen on her face, stuck somewhere between shock and indignation. Her mouth opened slightly, closed, then opened again. This wasn't the script she'd expected. The quiet, accommodating daughter-in-law who absorbed criticism and apologized for taking up space had just vanished. Her father-in-law's fork clattered against his plate. Now that's... Her mother-in-law started, but she wasn't finished. I've been patient, she continued, still calm, still meeting those eyes that had judged her for 2 years. I've listened to your concerns about my appearance, my career, my background, my choices. I've smiled through suggestions that I'm not quite good enough for your son. But I'm done being measured and found wanting by someone who doesn't actually know me, who's never asked about my work, my interests, my thoughts on anything that matters, who sees me as a placeholder until someone better comes along. How dare you? Her mother-in-law's voice rose. How dare I what? Speak honestly. Defend myself. Stop pretending that your cruelty is somehow kindness. She kept her tone level, which somehow made the words cut deeper. You wrapped that comment in concern, but we both know what you meant. You meant that I should be grateful he married me, that I should be insecure, anxious, always wondering if I'm enough, that I should shrink myself to fit whatever image you have of who deserves your son. What none of them knew, what she didn't know, was that her husband had just stepped back into the house. He'd finished his call and realized he'd left his phone on the entry table. The office door had been slightly ajar, and the moment he'd heard his mother's voice carrying that particular tone, the one that meant she was building toward something cruel, he'd moved quietly toward the dining room. He'd heard the initial comment. He'd heard his wife's response, every word. And he'd heard something else too, the exhaustion beneath her composure, the pain she'd been carrying silently, the dignity she'd maintained while being systematically diminished. He stood in the doorway now, still unnoticed, watching his mother's face cycle through emotions. Shock that she'd been called out, anger at being challenged, calculation as she tried to find a way to regain control of the narrative. His mother noticed him first. Her expression shifted immediately, softened, became concerned, playing the victim. Oh, sweetheart, thank goodness you're back. I think there's been a misunderstanding. But he was looking at his wife, at the set of her shoulders, at the way her hands were trembling now that she'd finally said what she'd been holding back, at the tears she was blinking away, determined not to cry. Then he looked at his mother. What did you mean, he said quietly, by that comment about beautiful women in my office? His voice was too calm, dangerously calm. His mother's laugh came too quickly, too high. Oh, sweetheart, I was just making conversation. You know how I worry. What did you mean by it? He repeated. The room had gone silent. Even the clock on the wall seemed to hold its breath. I just meant that you work in an environment with so many attractive, successful women. And I know how these things can what? He stepped fully into the room now. Can what exactly, Mom? She tried to smile, tried to find the son who usually stayed neutral during these tensions. Darling, you know I only want what's best for you. What's best for me is being married to the woman I love, the woman I chose, the woman I wake up grateful for every single day. His voice was still quiet, but there was steel underneath it now. What's best for me is not having her disrespected in our home. I wasn't disrespecting her. Yes, you were. He cut her off with 2 words, flat and final. You've been disrespecting her since the day I introduced you. And I've asked you, repeatedly, privately, to stop. His mother's face flushed. I have never... You've criticized her weight, her clothes, her education, her job, her family. You've made comments about her not being refined enough for our family. You've told her she should try harder with her appearance. You've questioned whether she's ambitious enough, social enough, sophisticated enough. He was listing them now, all the small cruelties he'd witnessed and tried to excuse. And tonight, you implied that she's so inadequate that of course I'd be looking elsewhere. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? He waited. Please, explain the other interpretation of that comment. Silence. His mother looked to his father for support, but his father was staring at his plate, years of enabling catching up with him. She tried a different approach, softened her voice, reached toward him. Sweetheart, I'm your mother. I'm just trying to protect you. From what? His wife spoke now, her voice tired. From being happy? From choosing my own partner? From building my own life? His mother turned on her, that mask of concern slipping to show the irritation beneath. From making a mistake you'll regret, from settling because you're careful, her husband said, and something in his tone made her stop. Very careful what you say next. His mother seemed to realize, finally, that she'd crossed a line she couldn't uncross. She tried to reset, to find the script that usually worked. I'm just concerned about standards, about image, about how the world... He stood up from his chair. The movement was deliberate, final. No one disrespects my wife in our home, not even you. The words landed like stones in still water. His mother stared at him, truly seeing him for the first time this evening. Not the dutiful son who smoothed things over, but the man who'd built a life separate from her vision. She started, and her voice cracked. You're choosing her over your own mother? The question was meant to wound, to make him feel guilty, to reset the dynamic where her feelings mattered most. He didn't hesitate. I'm choosing respect. I'm choosing the person who's built a life with me, who supports my dreams, who makes me better. I'm choosing honesty over manipulation. I'm choosing the woman who's shown more grace under your criticism than you've ever shown her, in kindness. His mother's composure was cracking now, the careful control she always maintained beginning to fracture. This is ridiculous. I made one comment. You've made hundreds of comments for 2 years, and I've tried to handle it privately. I've asked you to stop. I've explained why it hurts. I've given you chance after chance to treat my wife with basic human dignity. He moved toward the front door, his intention clear. And you've ignored every one of those chances. So what, you're going to throw me out? Your own mother? I'm going to make it clear that this behavior isn't acceptable. Not anymore. He opened the front door. Late evening air rushed in, carrying the scent of jasmine from the garden his wife had planted. His mother stood frozen, clearly expecting him to back down, expecting tears or apologies or the usual restoration of peace that always happened when she pushed too far. I love you, Mom, he said, and his voice carried genuine sadness. But if you can't treat my wife with dignity, you can't stay here. Not tonight. Not until you're ready to apologize. Genuinely apologize and change. The air felt heavier than any argument, dense with the weight of boundaries finally being set. His mother tried to laugh it off. Oh, come on. Everyone's being too sensitive. It was just a joke. It wasn't a joke to her. He looked at his wife, who was still sitting at the table, tears streaming down her face now. And it's not a joke to me. His mother looked to his father one more time. His father stood slowly, finally, and said quietly, "We should go." It was the first thing he'd said in 15 minutes. His mother's face cycled through disbelief, hurt, anger, and finally something like fear. The fear that she'd actually lost control this time, that the dynamics she'd relied on for decades were shifting beneath her feet. She tried one more time, softer now. "Sweetheart, please. You're overreacting. Can't we just..." "No," he said simply. "Not until you understand what you've done. Not until you're ready to see her as a person instead of a threat." His mother gathered her purse with shaking hands, straightened her shoulders, put the mask back on, but it didn't fit quite right anymore. "You'll regret this," she said, trying for dignity. "I regret not doing it sooner," he replied. She walked to the door, paused as if waiting for him to stop her, to take it back, to return to the familiar pattern. When he didn't, she stepped through. His father followed, pausing just briefly to look at his son. "She means well," he said quietly. "No," his son replied. "She means to control. There's a difference." His father nodded slowly, as if acknowledging a truth he'd been avoiding for years, and followed his wife into the night. The door closed with a soft click that felt thunderous. The house was suddenly profoundly quiet. His wife was still sitting at the table, hands trembling, tears still falling. She looked like she might shatter if touched too roughly, like she'd been holding herself together through sheer will, and the effort had finally caught up with her. He walked over slowly, knelt beside her chair, and gently cupped her face in his hands. His thumbs brushed away tears that kept coming. "You were never the problem," he said quietly. "Do you hear me? You were never the problem." That was when she finally let herself break. Not from humiliation, not from anger, not even from the confrontation, from relief. Relief that she'd finally been defended, that her pain had been acknowledged, that someone had chosen her, clearly and publicly, without hesitation or qualification. Relief that she didn't have to keep carrying the weight of someone else's disapproval while pretending it didn't hurt. Relief that she'd spoken her truth and the world hadn't ended. It had, in fact, shifted toward justice. He held her while she cried, whispering apologies for not seeing it sooner, for not acting sooner, for asking her to be patient with cruelty that should never have been tolerated. Later, after the tears had slowed and the dishes still sat abandoned on the table, she asked the question that had been forming. "What happens now?" He was quiet for a moment, thinking. "Now we set boundaries. Clear ones. If she wants a relationship with us, it's on the condition that she treats you with respect. Real respect, not performance. And if she can't do that, then we build our life without her." "You'd really do that?" Her voice was small. "Choose me over your mother?" He looked at her with an expression of such certainty that it left no room for doubt. "I chose you the day I married you. I chose you every day before that, and every day since. What I should have done was make that choice clearer to everyone else sooner." She leaned into him, exhausted but lighter somehow. "I didn't want to be the reason you fought with your family. You're not the reason. Her behavior is the reason. Her refusal to accept that I'm an adult who made my own choice is the reason. You're just the person who finally deserved someone standing up for them." They sat in the quiet dining room, surrounded by the remnants of a dinner that had imploded, and began the slow work of processing what had just happened. The confrontation, the boundary, the choice that had been made visible. 2 weeks passed. 2 weeks of absence that felt both relieving and heavy. His mother didn't call. His father sent one text. "She needs time." He responded, "So do we." Life continued. They fell back into their rhythms, cooking together, walking the dog, working on the house renovation they'd been planning. But something had shifted. His wife carried herself differently, stood straighter, spoke more freely. The constant low-level anxiety that had hummed beneath her skin during family visits had dissolved. She hadn't realized how much energy she'd been spending on bracing for criticism until she didn't have to anymore. Then, on a Tuesday afternoon, his mother appeared at his office. She hadn't called ahead, hadn't asked permission. She'd simply arrived during his lunch hour with something he'd apparently left at her house months ago. A book, barely necessary, clearly an excuse. His assistant had buzzed him. "Your mother is here." He'd paused, considering sending her away. But curiosity won. "Send her in." She entered his office carefully, taking in details she'd somehow never noticed before despite visiting several times over the years. The framed photo of his wife on his desk, not a wedding photo, but a candid shot from a hiking trip where she was laughing, genuinely happy, her hair messy from wind. It was positioned where he could see it while working, a reminder of what waited at home. The small succulent his wife had given him for his office, thriving in its pot because he actually watered it, remembered it. The sketch his wife had drawn, she was an architect, something his mother had never bothered to ask about, of the house they were renovating, framed and hung where clients could see it. His mother stood awkwardly, holding the book. He didn't invite her to sit. "I wanted to return this," she said. "You could have mailed it. I wanted to see you." He waited, not making it easy. She set the book down on his desk, her hand trembling slightly. "I went to that restaurant you recommended. The one you said you and she go to." He didn't respond, curious where this was leading. "I saw how the staff greeted her by name, how they knew her usual order, how they asked about the renovation project." His mother's voice was quiet. "They knew her, really knew her. They lit up when she walked in. She's easy to know, he said simply. When people bother to try. His mother flinched. I saw the community garden she volunteers at, the reading program at the library she runs, the fundraiser she organized for the children's hospital. She didn't tell you about any of that? He asked, though he knew the answer. I never asked. His mother looked at her hands. I never asked her about anything. I just judged, he finished. You just judged. She didn't deny it. I saw her helping an elderly woman load groceries into her car. Saw her stop to pet every dog she passed. Saw her tip the street musician playing violin near your building. His mother's voice broke slightly. I saw who she is when she thinks no one is watching. He stayed quiet, letting her continue. And I came here, to your office, to bring you this book. She gestured at it, meaningless now. I was going to leave it with your assistant, but then I heard you in a meeting. He remembered the meeting. Budget review. Dry, technical, exactly the kind of thing his mother would find boring. Someone made a comment, she continued, about cutting costs on the accessibility features for the new building design. Said disabled access was expensive, that they could minimize it. He remembered that too. Remembered his response. And you said no. Dante, his mother's eyes were watery now. You said your wife had taught you that accessibility isn't a luxury, it's basic human dignity. You talked about how she'd shown you the ways buildings exclude people, how design choices have moral weight. You quoted something she'd said about architecture being about creating space for everyone, not just some. She picked up the framed photo from his desk, looked at it, really looked at it for the first time. The way you spoke about her. His mother's voice was barely a whisper, like she'd made you see the world differently, like you were proud of how she'd changed you. Like she was the smartest person you knew. She is, he said quietly. His mother set the photo down carefully, precisely back in its spot. I thought, I was so sure that you'd married beneath you, that she wasn't good enough, that she'd trapped you somehow, or that you'd settle and regret it. Why? The question wasn't rhetorical. He genuinely wanted to know. Because she wasn't what I expected. She didn't come from the right family. She didn't have the right connections. She didn't look like... She trailed off, shame finally catching up. Like what I should want, he finished. Like what you decided I should want. His mother was crying now, quietly, her careful composure completely dissolved. I was so focused on what she wasn't that I never saw what she is. And what she is, God, what she is extraordinary. Kind and brilliant and creative and strong. She's made you happy. Really happy. I can see it in everything. How you talk about her, how you defend her, how you've built a life that reflects her values. She looked at him directly. No masks left. I was cruel to her because I was afraid, she admitted. Afraid of losing you. Afraid of not being the most important woman in your life anymore. Afraid that if she was wonderful, it meant I wasn't necessary. You made that choice yourself, he said, not unkindly. She never wanted to take me from you. She wanted to be welcomed into a family. You're the one who made it a competition. His mother nodded, accepting the truth. I know that now. Watching her these past 2 weeks, really watching her, not just cataloging flaws. I saw what you saw, what I should have seen from the beginning if I hadn't been so determined to find problems. She took a shaky breath. I saw my son's wife, a woman who makes him better, who's built a life with him based on mutual respect and shared values, who's created a home full of love and laughter, who's more gracious than I ever deserved. She is all of those things, he agreed, and she deserved better from you, from all of us. His mother wiped her eyes, trying to compose herself. I know I can't undo 2 years of cruelty. I know an apology doesn't erase the damage, but I want to try, if she'll let me, if you'll let me. He considered her carefully, saw genuine remorse, genuine recognition, genuine shame. But he also remembered his wife's tears, the trembling, the years of accumulated small wounds. I'm not the one you need to convince, he said finally. And I won't ask her to forgive you or give you another chance just because you finally realized what I've known all along. That's her choice to make. His mother nodded. I understand. I wanted you to know that I see it now. I see her now. and I'm ashamed of who I've been." "Good," he said, not cruelly but firmly. "Shame might be the beginning of actual change, but it's only the beginning. If you want a relationship with us, with both of us, it starts with genuine apology to her, and it continues with proving, through actions over time, that you've actually changed." "I will," she said. "I'll do whatever it takes." "We'll see," he replied. "But Mom, if you hurt her again, if you slip back into those patterns, if you make her feel small again, there won't be another chance. I meant what I said that night. My wife's dignity is not negotiable." His mother left his office quietly, humbled in a way he'd never seen before. That evening, he came home to find his wife in their backyard garden, pulling weeds in the fading light. He told her about the visit, about his mother's realizations, about the apology that might be coming. His wife listened quietly, her hands still working the soil. "What do you want to do?" he asked. "It's your choice. All of it." She was quiet for a long moment, thinking. "I don't know yet," she admitted. "Part of me wants to slam the door the way it was slammed on me for 2 years. Part of me is curious if people can actually change, and part of me is just tired of carrying anger. All of those feelings are valid," he said. "I know." She pulled another weed, examined its roots. Maybe I'll hear what she has to say, if she comes, if she's genuine. But I'm not promising forgiveness just because she finally opened her eyes. And I'm not going back to absorbing cruelty silently. "I wouldn't ask you to," he said. She looked up at him, this man who had chosen her clearly and publicly, who had defended her when it cost him something. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for that night, for all of it." "You never have to thank me for doing what should have been done from the beginning," he replied. 3 days later, his mother did come. She didn't call ahead, didn't bring gifts or excuses, just knocked on their door in the early evening and waited, humble in a way that seemed foreign to her usual bearing. His wife answered. For a moment, they simply looked at each other, the woman who had been cruel and the woman who had endured it. "I owe you an apology," his mother said, her voice unsteady. "A real one. May I come in?" His wife considered, then stepped aside. They sat in the living room his wife had designed, surrounded by the life she and her husband had built. His mother looked around, really seeing it for the first time. The photographs on the walls telling the story of their relationship, the furniture they'd chosen together, the books that reflected both their interests, the small, beautiful details that made a house a home. "I was cruel to you," his mother began. No preamble. "For 2 years, I was systematically cruel. I criticized your appearance, your background, your choices. I made you feel unwelcome in your own family. I implied you weren't good enough for my son. And that last night I went too far. I tried to make you feel insecure in your own marriage, in your own home." His wife listened, her face carefully neutral. "I don't have an excuse," his mother continued. "I was afraid of losing my son. I was afraid of becoming less important to him. And instead of dealing with that fear like an adult, I took it out on you. I made you the problem, when the real problem was my inability to accept that my son had grown up and chosen his own partner." She took a breath. "I never asked you about your work, your interests, your life. I never tried to know you. I just looked for flaws to justify my prejudice. And in doing so, I missed seeing an extraordinary woman, a woman who makes my son genuinely happy, who's built a beautiful life with him, who has more grace and dignity than I've shown." His wife's expression softened slightly, but she didn't speak yet. "I can't undo the damage I've caused," his mother said. "I can't take back the comments, the looks, the deliberate cruelty. But I want you to know that I see it now. I see what I did. I see who you are, and I'm deeply, genuinely ashamed." "Why now?" his wife asked quietly. "What changed?" His mother considered the question. "Honestly, being forced to see you without my prejudice filtering everything, watching how people respond to you, hearing how my son talks about you, seeing the life you've built together, and realizing that my fear of losing him was making him lose respect for me, that my cruelty toward you was the thing actually creating distance." She met his wife's eyes directly. "I don't expect forgiveness," I don't expect you to forget. I just wanted to apologize sincerely and tell you that if you're willing to give me a chance to do better, I will spend however long it takes proving that I've changed." The room was quiet, except for the sound of the clock ticking. His wife thought about 2 years of small cruelties, about the relief she'd felt when boundaries were finally set, about the exhaustion of always being measured and found wanting, about dignity and respect, and the price of peace. She also thought about growth, about how rare it is for people to genuinely confront their own ugliness, about the courage it took to sit here, exposed and ashamed, asking for grace. "I appreciate the apology," she said finally, "and I believe you mean it right now. But I've learned that apologies without changed behavior are just words. So here's what I need. I need time. I need to see, through actions over months, not days, that this change is real. I need you to respect boundaries. And I need you to understand that even if I choose to rebuild some kind of relationship with you, it won't look like before, because before was broken." His mother nodded. "I understand. Whatever you need, however long it takes. And if you slip," his wife continued, her voice stronger now, "if you make comments about my weight or my clothes or anything else, if you undermine me or disrespect me in any way, I'm done. Permanently. Not because I can't forgive, but because I refuse to keep absorbing cruelty." "I understand," his mother said again. They didn't hug, didn't promise everything was fixed, didn't pretend that one apology erased 2 years. But when his mother left that evening, something had shifted. Not back to broken dynamics, but forward into something new and uncertain, and requiring effort from everyone. Growth doesn't start with humiliation exactly. It starts with finally seeing the truth that humiliation reveals. And sometimes, if people are brave enough to face that truth and do the hard work of actual change, relationships can be rebuilt, not restored to what they were, but transformed into something honest and more whole. Time would tell which this would be. But for now, in the home they'd built together, his wife felt something she hadn't felt in 2 years around his family. The possibility of being seen. And that, at least, was a beginning.